Hey guys, so we're going to be talking about Oral-B, which is of course very, very well-known toothbrush brand in the next 10 seconds. And Lorenzo has actually has a bunch of really interesting ideas. One of them is talking about how they can actually use their product images to kind of increase the likelihood of them converting. I have a couple of ideas as well. And I think some of them you'll be surprised by. We always try and have original ideas that we've tried not to cover in previous episodes. So stick around and enjoy the show. Hey guys, so let's just jump in and talk about the page. Again, our goal is to kind of keep this episode short to the point. If there's anything we talk about that you want more information on, just add a comment. And then we will certainly do a follow-up episode, or maybe I could even make you a special video answering your questions. We want to make sure that this is valuable. So we're talking about the Oral-B mobile product page, and I'm just going to browse through it. There's a title over here. They've got 246 reviews. They've got a promo running right now for Mother's Day, Mom's Day. They've made a choice of having these images auto rotate. Then they've also got this element that's rotating as well. You know, we're not going to comment on UI UX choices, but just so you're aware of the page. Then they have the option here of brush only or add refills. Obviously, if someone is buying for the first time, then they'd want to buy the brush. They've got 3 color options over here. You can select the quantity. There's the price point of $300. And then there's free shipping, which is included. And over here, you can add to cart, or you can find another retailer. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is, and I don't know if Lorenzo, if you noticed this, but on their first image, they say only at Oral-B, they have a free gift. So clearly, obviously, it makes sense that they wanted to drive the sales from their own website. So I would say that if that's the case, there are many UI UX things you can do over here to actually kind of persuade the buyer to buy from you itself. We won't cover that, but it's important to be aware of strategically what the retailer would prefer. Then, of course, they have Affirm to break down the payments into smaller payments. They've got more information. Here is where we are essentially presenting our sales pitch. Then there's a warranty information. And actually, they've got some very interesting assets over here. Very good images actually showing the 3 colors that they offer. Again, I wish they could have, I would have shown that maybe even higher on the page. There's a really nice infographic over here where they're talking about what the features are. Again, there's more features. There's a video over here as well, which I thought was very well done. But actually, because and I'll talk about this in my analysis, because it's sandwiched between these 2 images, I'm not sure if people would notice it. Then they've got this app that they are trying to pitch as well, which again, and then they've got these extensions, and then they have customer reviews. So that's the layout of the page. Lorenzo, if you're ready, I can just jump into my ideas.
Let's do it.
So now that we've seen the page, I'm just going to talk about ideas. All right. So,
and by the way, guys, sorry, Rishi, by the way, guys, you'll find this document and my reviews document, reviews mining document as well in the show notes. So you'll be able to download it.
Yep. And we're actually working on a website. And so eventually we'll put all of this content there as well. So for this episode, I'm going to focus in on micro improvements. And essentially the way to kind of think about micro improvements is we're making these relatively small improvements on the page without changing the layout and the design of the page. And this is a very important idea, because when you start getting into changing the design and the layout of the page, it becomes a more complicated project. But if you can work within the constraints of the page, you can get approval from the client much easier, because at least from their perspective, we're not making a fundamental change. The beauty is that for the consumer, it's still a meaningful change, because you're effectively working on the change you're making is around the sales pitch, which is really what the consumer cares about more than anything else. Let me tell you about the first issue I noticed, which I mentioned in the video, is that this video over here is actually sandwiched between these 2 graphical elements. And think of every element on the page as competing for the attention for the buyer. So we've got this element that's competing for attention, this element that's competing for attention, and then we have this little video over here. The play button isn't super visible, and I'm thinking most people would miss it. Now, I could be right, I could be wrong. And so this is why I would set this up as a choreographed experience. And what that means is that if someone plays the video, then we know that they watched the video. If they come to the page, they scroll down, but they don't play the video, then we can draw a different conclusion about them. Now, there's this discount that's being offered, $20 off. And this is this is a very, very important detail because, and this is something that I'm actually now doing more research on. What happens is that if you have a landing page and you are offering an incredible discount, a $20 discount is a 10% discount or less than 10% discount, but on a $300 item, anyone who's seriously considering buying this product is going to want to buy this, apply for the discount. And I'm going to talk about why this is potentially a risk. But for now, let's look at that scenario where they get a pop-up with the discount. And let's look at a scenario where one bucket of users have actually watched that video. So we're going to assume that the video was useful. Then let's look at another bucket of people that didn't watch the video. So if they didn't watch, both of those buckets right now are getting this pop-up that appears that says, hey, unlock $20. And so I'm not even going to read anything on the page. I'm just going to give my email address because obviously I want the discount. So for my test, what I've done is I've actually inserted the video in the pop-up only for people that didn't watch the video on the page. Now, why have I done this? There's a and we'll actually cover this in my next point. This is a really important detail because it's not just the fact that we've inserted the video, it's actually why we inserted the video. And I want to talk about that. So what happens is that if someone comes to the product page and they see because the discount pop-up appears very quickly, they come to the product page, they get the discount, they are drawn to that discount. So they're going to give up their email address right away because they want the $20 discount. But here's the thing though, they haven't necessarily fully absorbed our sales pitch. They haven't fully understood what makes this product unique and special. This is a real problem because if they have given their discount, now when they go home and they check on their phone and they get the coupon code, now there are many behaviors, but the behavior that I'm most concerned about is someone who says, oh, I got the discount. And then they kind of end their session. And then they go home, not when they go home, when they open their inbox, they have a coupon code. Well, they've got a coupon code which they find attractive, but they still haven't fallen in love with the product because the coupon code was given too early in the process. So what I'm trying to do over here is at the very least show an elevator pitch of what the product, so that if they remember that when they get the coupon code, they're like, you know what, I really did like this product, I'm going to buy it. So this is why I think that setting this up as a choreographed experience actually, it actually increases the likelihood of them buying, not just giving up their email address, because that's fine, but ultimately we want them to buy. Does this make sense, Lorenzo? I want to make sure I'm not.
Yeah. Basically, instead of making them focus on the discount, you want them to focus on understanding more about the product.
That's exactly right. Because the discount is such a big elephant in the room that if they just focus on the discount and they give up their email address and get a coupon code, well, the coupon code is still not a good enough reason for me to actually buy this model. And so I don't want to rely on the user then coming to the website and reading the description at that point. I want to make sure that, that they have all of that. Let's talk about another aspect. So there is a huge behavior difference between someone who is already using an electric brush and switching brands versus someone who is new to an electric brush. Like, for example, me, I don't use an electric brush. And so right now their description is really just designed for people that their description is their description. What I've done over here is after the first paragraph, I've just simply added a simple question. Do you currently use an electric brush? Now, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, why did I include this here and not on the top of the description? And the reason for that is because whenever I introduce a question, I want to have it be conversational. It's very strange if the first thing the user sees is a question. It feels like you haven't earned my trust. Why would I answer your questions up front? So I like to kind of just start with the sales pitch, normal sales pitch. And then over here in a very subtle way, I'm kind of asking a question. Hey, do you currently use an electric brush? If someone says yes, then the content lower on the page, the user doesn't even see this, but the content lower on the page can be personalized for that scenario. If someone says no, then you can personalize it differently. And the extent to which you want to personalize can obviously change based on your scenario. Now, the thing to keep in mind over here is, and this is something that's very important for us to communicate, is that please don't think about this as being literally, we have to use the same question. We're not saying that. You need to ask yourself, what bucket is the most important for you. So if you're selling, for example, a certain brand, maybe the fact that someone has never bought from your brand is more important to you, but there are so many other questions that you could have. My point is that this question over here, you can only ask the user one question. This is also an important point. The idea doesn't make sense if you say, here are 5 questions for you. It's too cumbersome for the user. The user doesn't care about you so much to give all this free information to you. So you can only ask one question. So you have to really ask yourself, you need to ask a question where, based on the response, you would actually change your sales pitch. If the response doesn't cause you to change your sales pitch, then maybe it's not a very good question. There might be some other question that you can think about. To me, I decided that this is the right question to ask, but there could have been another question. For example, they could have asked a question like, how long have you been looking for an electric brush? And they could personalize it based on that. They could ask a question like, do you have a specific oral condition right now? Maybe people are buying. So we don't know what those questions are, but I'm just showing a placeholder for this is the question that I chose to focus on. And then I want to kind of get to another aspect of that I discovered on the page. Lower on the page, they actually talk about something that I think is quite valuable, which is they say that you have 4 Oral-B Ultimate Clean replacement brush heads that are included for free. Now, the thing is that this is a pretty expensive item. It's $300. I mean, I'm used to buying a brush for like $10 or $5, right? So to pay $300 or something, is pretty steep. And they've kind of buried the fact that you get basically these replacement pieces lower on the page. The thing is also above here, they explain something, which is that replace every 3 months. So if they're giving you 4, basically what they're saying is you're covered for a whole year. And I felt like this was a pretty strong selling point. So what I did was, in my concept, it says free shipping, and I over here showed a button that says reveal, because I know that when the user is looking at this price point, they're freaking out. They're like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. So I want to create some kind of a little dramatic effect. And when you click on reveal, it then shows 12 months of free supplies.
I love it.
And yeah, so these are just simple examples. We're trying to, guys, I could have had 50 more ideas for micro improvements, but I wanted to limit my section to 15 minutes. So these are the ones I kind of zeroed in on. Lorenzo, it's over to you now.
I love this last idea, Rishi, and what you've done can be applied to so many other ways, so many other things. It's a way to increase the focus on one thing as much as possible. Even I want to point out the choice of that word that you use. I guarantee if a dictionary about persuasive words existed, the word reveal is in that vocabulary and dictionary, because it's a powerful word.
Yeah, and also, again, I think the location is very important. The anxiety is the highest when the user is looking at the fact that they're about to spend $300 for a brush. Think about price anchoring, where if you're coming from a traditional brush, you're used to spending $4 or $5, and you're now spending $300. This is not a trivial thing, and they don't address this price point at all. We didn't cover it I didn't cover it in my episode because I didn't want to repeat the same thing over and over again. But price justification is something we've covered in 5 other episodes. Watch our other episodes to see how you can justify price. But this is a pretty expensive item, and I would really focus in on that. All right, my friend, your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen so we can go through my my ideas. So the first one, I called it product photo stories optimization. And
love it.
I know that Rishi is also a big fan of the term. I never thought about calling it photo stories. I think you call it picture stories.
Yeah.
So the term I copied from you. So let me talk a little bit about a few problems that I noticed around the product images that they have. So first of all, problem number 1 is right away you see that they're using a slider to go through all the product images. And in general, slider is not ideal when it comes to UX because it's quite distracting. The other thing about the first image in particular is that if I zoom in, you see it says free gift. And this badge is clear because it tells you that there's a free gift in it, but it's not specific enough to mention that the free gift is for Mother's Day, and it doesn't say how long it lasts for. So two issues with that image. No, so there's distraction around the slider, and there's no clarity around the free gifts urgency. So my solution for image number one is remove the slider and add urgency copy to that photo in particular. And I came up with a copy. This is a bad one. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to come up with like a clever copy, because you're the copywriter. I would rather have you focus on the copy. And it says it's until the end of Mother's Day weekend. And again, this copy is not the point. The point is to clarify and add urgency to this image. Problem number two, still, I'm going through like all the different images that they have on the product page, and I want to pinpoint all the different problems that these images have. So problem number two is that people in general interpret plain product photos in their own way, right? So for example, if different users look at this image, they might be thinking different things, right? Because again, they make an interpretation of the image in different ways. But what I want to do is I want to point out specific things about this image. So I want to turn a plain product photos into a product stories. So I put few examples here. Again, let's look at this image. You have the four brushes on the top, the main, I don't know how this is called, like the main brush, the main toothbrush, the charger, and then the travel charger. So what I would do is I would add copy into this image, kind of like highlighting that each head brush targets different teeth problem. And this is something I didn't know. I had to I discovered through the reviews analyzed. And then the travel case, you can have, again, small copy that says it's small enough to fit in a carry-on bag, but it also has a charger, right? Brushes are very soft and last longer, which was also something that was mentioned in the reviews. And then they mentioned about this concept of like, magnetic charger. Well, what's the main benefit of having a magnetic charger versus others, right? So it charges faster and lasts longer. The next problem around product images is that some images, in particular this, and the next one, they do have copy that pinpoints what the image is about. Yeah. So in this case, magnetic charger. But this is what I call so what product story images, because they only focus on the feature. So when I read this, I'm like, okay, magnetic charger, so what? Who cares? What is in it for me if this is a magnetic charger versus aluminum versus anything else, right? And the same for the following one. Interactive color display. Okay, fucking amazing, but so what?
Yeah, and especially over here, if you look at that image, it says good morning. So the user's looking at that and saying, okay, so it's going to say good morning to me. Who cares? They should have picked a different image.
100%. Then charging travel case. Okay, thank you for describing this. But so what? So what
actually,
I would do
actually, I should pause you here because this is a very important point. So I know what they've done. They've got a template and they've said, you know what? We have 5 slides in the slider. We have to fill it with images. Let's fill it with images. I think they're making a big mistake. One of the big mistakes brands make is they say, look, my product has 15 attributes. I need to talk about all 15 attributes. But the reality is the marketer knows that some of these attributes are stupid, right? The fact that it says good morning to you, there's no way that people are saying, oh, if it's going to greet me, I'm going to buy a $300 brush, right? So the thing is though, but when you talk about all 15 attributes, you're making the consumer pay taxes for 15 elements, not all of which are important. What if you use 3 cells to actually talk about something that's even more important? So instead of using all your real estate to talk about different things, maybe you can talk about the same thing in 4 or 5 different ways. Like for me, the benefit of having an electric brush is the most important reason to buy an electric brush. So the fact that you have a travel case, the fact that you have all, these are all supporting arguments. I would have used all of my real estate and all of my marketing kind of attention to really drill home that point, and they didn't do a good job talking about that switch behavior. Sorry, back to you.
Yeah, it's almost like among all the attributes that this product has, there is like, you know, like first level in terms of importance ones and second level,
That's exactly
and maybe
right.
even third level, right?
I agree.
So for this image in particular, what I would do is I would turn this photo story, which is based on a feature, the fact that the product comes with a charging travel, into feature plus benefit. Because again, all right, charging travel case. So what? The next one is the more product attributes photos are missing. There's a few things that they mentioned about this product, which actually I'm about to talk to in my next idea. So my solution here is add images about other important product attributes. But then the way I would go about this, it would actually prioritize, kind of similar to what I was saying earlier. You know, you have first level, second level, and third level. So what I would do is first start collecting data around what are the most important attributes for the user? Because maybe for Lorenzo are different, maybe for Rishi are different, but I want to know from a user standpoint, I want to have a data focused approach. So I would collect data around what are the most important attributes to the user. And then based on that, I would prioritize those attributes in the images. Let's talk about the second one. And I want to talk about, I called it turn the app from the princess of the page to the queen of the page.
Now I'm curious to read more and hear more.
So the main problem that, well, it's not the main, but one problem that I identified is that a lot of the benefits that people talk about in the reviews that I analyzed, they're actually benefits that are not brought in by the physical product, but they're benefits that the users got from the app.
And this is a really important point I should highlight because I don't do reviews mining, I was completely blind to this point. That's why in my analysis, I didn't even talk about the app because I didn't know what the benefits of the app were because I didn't download the app. But because Lorenzo is looking at post-purchase reviews of how people actually consume the product, he was able to triangulate and figure out that, hey, the app is actually the thing that the consumer seems to care a lot about. So now he's going to dramatize that in his description. And because I didn't do reviews mining, I was blind to that. And so this is why reviews mining really helps with copywriting.
So what I want to show you, Rishi, is when we look at the benefits that I discovered users mentioned, if you look at all the ones that are highlighted in red, let's talk about them one by one. It's like if I just left my dentist office every day. My mouth feels cleaner and fresh, cleans my teeth very well. I can see how well I'm cleaning my teeth using the app. I don't have to guess if I'm applying the right pressure. You keep the teeth gums healthy. Again, I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of benefits that people have mentioned about the product, they got that benefit because of the app, not because of the brush. In fact, if they had a manual toothbrush, instead of this model in particular, a lot of these benefits wouldn't have been mentioned.
That's right. So that's the point I was going to make, is that the way the game to play is that this is how you differentiate yourself from a traditional toothbrush, because if it's not the cleaning of the teeth, but it's the data that the consumer is getting access to that you've never had access to before, right?
Correct. So here's my solution to this. I would actually introduce a app container section just below the warranty information, just below here. And I will actually make it more prominent than the other two drop down. So now when the user is in front of it, that container is competing against the other two container, but because it's more prominent, you can change color or make it bigger or pinpoint with arrow, whatever the designer decides to make that choice. Now it's more likely that people will click on that one because it's more prominent. And then what I would do is, the way to think about the solution I'm about to talk is, if you look at this SaaS websites, that they're doing a good job in terms of like, CRO, experimentation, optimization, and so on. What they do is they show a screenshot of a specific feature of that SaaS product. And it shows how that specific feature is going to help the user have a better life, right? So I want to piggyback on the same concept, because this is what I call the Internet of Things type of product. It's physical product merged with an app, a SaaS, right? So what I would do in this app section, just below the warranty information, I would actually display the app reports, and I would talk about the benefit of each of these app reports that the app shows you. So for example, here's a report that shows while the user is brushing her teeth, you basically like keep track of like which teeth you already cleaned, basically. So what I would do is I would add that benefit. It's 10x more, you get 10x more clean teeth because you never miss a spot, thanks to that report. The next one on the list is, again, 10x more clean teeth because you don't have to guess if you're applying the right pressure, because now there's a report in the app that you use while you're brushing your teeth that is telling you how much pressure you're putting while brushing. And it's actually telling you if you're putting too much pressure or you're putting not enough pressure. So again, the end result is great because of the technology is helping you in real time to use the brush.
And what's wonderful about the way the human brain is structured is that, when I'm looking at this report, I'm able to immediately visualize myself using the product, which increases my desire, which increases the likelihood of me buying.
Yep, you're absolutely right. But one last thing I want to mention about what to add in this app section on the product page. So I actually noticed that obviously on the iTunes store and the Google Play Store, there's a lot of reviews that people leave about the app. So what I would do is I would actually mine the reviews, not just for the product page, but also for the app, looking for the most important benefits of each report. And I would just like focus on those reports and those benefits.
I love it. And actually this idea ties into my idea as well, because one of my ideas was adding the question that says, have you ever, are you switching from, have you ever used an electric brush before? For people that say no, I would actually double down on this content, because I'm competing against a traditional brush. If they've used an electric brush before, maybe that brush also has an app similar. So I would focus on something. I would talk about the history of Oral-B for dental cleaning, because whatever.
Yeah, it's like going from the horse to the car, right? It's a revolution. And we need to tell the revolution here.
I love it. Wonderful. Awesome. We will see you guys with another episode. Ciao.
Ciao.